I don't know. Is Terry coming?
I hope Terry will make it.
No, not gonna make, oh, okay. Well, yeah, we're just, after this, we're going to Acuna. I mean. No,
I won't go back over there.
I've heard it's gotten better.
I've been over there twice since stuff has happened, and I've
Yeah. Yeah.
Of all the places.
Now you need a passport.
That's the bottom of my list, let me tell you.
Yep, 100 to sock, yep. Yep.
Oh, it does. Trust me.
It's good advice.
That and a watch.
All right, staff is ready. They probably have other stuff to do. I wouldn't know, don't want to hang out with us, whatever we are. All right, here we go. We're going to call this meeting to order. Let's see, get my paperwork in front of me. Hello, everyone, and this is the City of San Angelo, Texas Zoning Board of Adjustment for Monday, June 2nd, 2025, and it is 1:36 p.m. in the afternoon. We're going to call the meeting to order and establish if we have a quorum, which we do, I believe. 5 of us today. 6? Okay, yes. And so we do have a quorum of 6, and now we'll go to public comment. Am I missing something?
Some public comment?
Item number 2, public comment. Issues or concerns not on the regular agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, address comments to dais, and begin by stating their name and address or single-member district, and limit all remarks to less than 3 minutes. Any public comment today? I don't see any. Okay, item number 3, review and take actions related to minute records of the regular meeting held Monday, May 5th, 2025. Has everyone looked at the minutes? Any questions?
I have one.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Just a comment that it was not Kim that gave the case on that study at the last meeting. It was Ms. Lineberry, I believe. Kim was not here.
We can get that
that's
corrected.
correct.
Sorry about that.
Yes, we will make that correction.
Okay. Okay.
And my question on the minutes too for the carport issue, when the motion was made to grant the variance as is, that meant as is, there would be no changes to that carport, correct? That's the way I read it. It didn't have to be removed.
Correct. They still have to get a building permit, but it does not have to be removed, and it did not have any architectural requirements because it's outside the open structure overlay.
Okay, so no architectural
Correct.
requirements. Okay, that's what I just wanted to confirm. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion approved. I have a second.
Second.
Says
And
vote.
that's with the one amendment?
That's with the amendment, yes.
With amendments.
Okay.
Motion approved with the amendments. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. 6-0. Moving on to item number 4, ZBA 25-08, 210 East 16th Street, Single Member District Number 3, Harry Thomas. A request for approval of a variance from zoning ordinance section 501.A for a 21-foot setback in lieu of the required 25 feet for a new residence on a single-family residential RS1 lot. Hello, Mr. Reed.
Thank you. Austin Reed, planner. This one comes to you out of the Reagan neighborhood. It is District Number 3, Harry Thomas's district. The zoning is RS1. The vision plan holds it to be neighborhood. The lot is 0.123 acres, or about 50 by 106 feet. And as you mentioned, we have a request for approval of a 21-foot front yard. And one quick note, it does say 102 on there. If you look at the address numbers, that's incorrect, so you might ignore that. We did send out 22 notices. As far as I'm aware, we did not receive any responses. So under our staff analysis, the variance is for the construction of a new single-family home. We do think there's special circumstances, and this is on the smaller size of a lot. It's currently vacant. It's in an infill area, and the developed lots around it haven't really had to fully comply with their front setback requirements. Therefore, little interpretation would deprive the applicant of commonly enjoyed rights. Also, we think granting the variance is in the public interest because it helps promote the infill of a vacant residential property. So all in all, we were able to find that the necessary criteria for granting a variance can be met. Here's a picture of the property. Probably doesn't add a whole lot, but it's going to be along the right side there within that fenced-in area. And then here's a site plan as well, if it helps anyone. You can see we do still have the 20 feet in the rear. We have 6 feet on each side, and then we actually have 21.5 feet in the front. With that, we are recommending approval. Do you have any questions?
Why do they need the 21? We'll go back to the plot.
Because of the size of the lot.
So how deep is 106?
It's 106. Our minimum is
They need
100.
20 feet on the backyard, right, to the
Yes.
And they're having to take off that 6
20
feet
feet. I
on
see
each
it, I see it,
side
yeah.
to accommodate up there.
They originally applied for a rear setback variance, but we recommended to them a front setback variance because it was more appropriate. It fits in with the neighborhood better.
And it puts it pretty much in line with the other houses on the
Yes,
block.
it would actually be the furthest back on the block face.
I drove by there and I don't see the other ones really close.
Right, yeah. On that same side, it's 20 feet and 15 feet, and then across the street, there's a couple that are like 20 feet, so.
Okay.
Kind of a weird split. I wonder, does the same guy own up to the corner?
No, actually, I think it's
It's
been
different?
sold
I was
separately.
just curious. It's just a weird split of a lot.
Well, they did make, it was all one lot, and about 2 years ago, they subdivided into 3 lots. And so there's 2 that actually face Oaks, and then there's that one that faces the 16th.
So it kind of reflects what's the corner next to it, right?
Yeah, that
Yes.
was all one lot.
1611.
Yeah, 1608, 1604,
Yes.
and then what they have as 102 was all one lot, and then they made it
Right,
into.
that's correct. I'm sorry, I didn't explain that very well, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, but
But-
it is mirroring the one across the
Yeah,
street.
and as Mr. Reed showed the site plan, really it's because that garage bump out is what's really affecting the setback. A lot of cities have given the garage that have bump outs like that, will just go to 20 feet and the living space be at 25, and that's essentially what this is that the living space is actually going to be starting back there at, what is that, 36 feet or so? So, I mean, that's probably safer than just the garage. I mean.
Would you restate that again? A lot of cities are doing what? Just,
So with that top portion you see is the driveway, so
Yes.
that's the garage.
Right.
That's kind of the, what I would call is a bump out towards the front street.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cities have given a 5-foot already for that, saying, okay, you only have to be 20 feet back if your garage is right there. Where the living
and we're
space
not
is-
one of the cities?
We're not yet.
I see, okay.
I think that may be something we would look at in our zoning ordinance, especially when you're looking at infill areas and things like here, that you're trying to get house plans to fit and not add an additional cost to, well, go redraw the house plans. So if there's a way to do that, but right now, variance is the way to do that, and us
Yes.
looking at the criteria.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Where are we?
Oh,
We done?
Yeah,
Any
it's,
questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Reed. Okay, let's see, took care of that. Board, would discuss, any discussion from the board?
I will make a motion to approve as the city has presented.
Second.
I have a motion for approval and a second. Any discussion before we go to the vote? All right, let's vote.
I don't know if we took public comment, not that there is any, but,
Oh,
I
okay.
thought that was only in the beginning.
well, it's for each item as well, but you just open and close it.
Thank you. Yeah, keep me on my game. I gotta add that to my cheat list here. So that goes, public comment goes before the vote, of course. If we had, or you'd be registered with the new rule. It doesn't matter if I'm looking at the crowd and all the empty chairs, right? Still gotta do that, still gotta do.
Make sure the chairs don't want to have a say.
We got to keep up with all the rules. I'm known for that. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed, passes 6-0. And let's move on to the division report. Item number 5.
Thank you, Chairman. Aaron Vanoy, Director of Planning Development Services. At the meeting where our new mayor, Tom Thompson, was sworn in, he did, after executive session, ask for the list for vacancies on boards. And so he's going to be talking with the council members to help fill those vacancies. I know we have a few alternative vacancies here for alternates, and so they are going to be working on that over the summer so that we actually have a full-up board. And if you had to miss, we have somebody to come in, because this is one of the unique boards that, again, you have to have the 6 for a quorum, and you have to have at least 5 of those, and I may be wrong on that, is all 6 to say yes, or if you have 7, you can have 1 that says no, or vice versa, that type of thing. And I know that's important to our board here, and so we're going to work on helping them if they need names. But if you also have names, talk to your city council member that appointed you and say, hey, if you've got an alternate appointment, you might be interested in this person. They might be interested in serving on this board. So we think that's very helpful. City's about to go through the budget process. All of our planning budget, permits and inspection budget, and everything has been submitted to them. We start having our internal meetings, and then they will have a budget calendar that's posted. And I believe most in January. July is when most of the public meetings will get started. And then, of course, they have to get that adopted before October 1, before our new fiscal year starts. So if you're interested in that, we'll make sure that our staff sends that calendar out to the board members. If you're interested, it's a public meeting, you're welcome to go. There probably is a strategic planning meeting for city council sometime in June. I'm not sure that it's been quite announced the date yet, but if that's announced, that's where the city council has discussion with city manager and staff members about what do they want to see come forward in the next 18, 24, 36 months of ideas or things to solve issues. I think planning has an opportunity to talk about the comprehensive plan at the budget meetings and through the strategic thing, and I think that's our first step to getting our comprehensive plan set for when we have additional growth, particularly towards our interstate area or areas that we're looking to annex into, as well as how does our zoning ordinance really impact our day-to-day things that are happening. Our zoning ordinance is fairly old. It's not even updated with our current comprehensive plan, and I think that's our goal long-term, is how do we get those to be more congruent, more in alignment, so that we don't have to have as many variances, that we are finding creative ways to fill in lots like this, because fill-in lots make a big difference to us, not only new projects, but fill-in lots, commercial, those types of things. And how do we allow more opportunities in our city to people to come work, live, and play? So that's kind of some of our goals over the summer, and we'll kind of keep you up to date on those.
I did read that the state is looking at smaller lot sizes for bigger cities. And it's not going to apply to San Angelo, though, right?
Currently, that is not the way the law is written. It's got a population cap, and so we're under that population cap. And so it would not be a mandate to us as a mandated thing that you must allow, and I don't remember what size lots they were. I think we've had some internal discussions of, is that an option for neighborhoods, certain neighborhoods in our community, that if the developer builder wanted to do smaller lots, we don't have it in our zoning ordinance as an option. And so do we add it over time as an option, but not as a mandate of, well, you must do 20 of them this size and 10 of them this size, those types of things. It would be, how we have RS1, RS2, and RS3. We could add an RS4 or an RS5 that gave some more flexibility. I think that needs to be vetted through the development task force and talk to our local team of developers, builders, and see what works. Put it out to our citizens to see what works in their areas, as opposed to just us coming and saying, well, we think this is a great idea. Well, it may fall flat. So we want to make sure that we're talking with the community and listening from the community if we bring anything like that forward. We are watching the legislature, because there are a number of items that could impact development just in general. And so we just keep an eye on those to see if we're going to have to change process or ordinance or something like that along the way.
Okay. This is all based on affordability.
Correct. And I think affordability is always challenging. When you really look at it, there are certain things that cities can do to affect affordability, and then a lot of things there's not. Obviously, if you're looking like these 3 lots on infill, hopefully your water, sewer, streets are there. It's probably small enough that it doesn't trigger drainage. So now it's all right. Well, that's
Take
what
care of
what
it.
other costs are there other than labor, which is very high, materials, which can be very high or volatile? I mean, those are the things that come into play at that point.
Very challenging.
Very challenging. Because the goal is, and I don't know that any city in America will get back there, is how do you get houses that are between 150 and 225 that new young I know. How do you do that? Because that's what people can afford and that's what they can get a loan for right now, but there's nothing out there.
How about an RV on the lot, right?
Yeah. And so I think all cities are going to be pressed to, how do you figure this out? Now, some thinks it's smaller lot sizes, which means more density, but that may still not make it affordable enough. We don't know until we really get some good numbers.
Now, and this is just, I'm gonna illustrate my ignorance. When we were looking at here, the lot had been broken up. Do we have an idea in San Angelo how many of those exist and where they are? Is it predominantly one area? Is it kind of scattered? Are there not enough to worry about? I don't know.
I think we have 4 areas or 5 areas that we've identified as infill areas, and we can bring some maps on that. It is a significant part of town. I would say anything that, and Gary, you may help me with this, but anything probably from, I'm going to say the 1980s coming forward, you don't have as many of those odd-shaped lots around. But previous to that, there were probably quite a few, and sometimes people would buy 3 or 4, sometimes they'd buy 2, and then over time, as the properties get passed on to the next generation, well, I'll split this off, or I'll do this. The idea about infill is that all that infrastructure is there, so you're not having to pay that as a builder developer to put that in and essentially give that to the city.
So in this lot, that corner became 3 lots.
Yes.
Do we have 3 sewer hookups and 3 water hookups?
I know that we have the mains there. They will probably have to pay for the taps.
Okay.
Now, the infill program, since that is in an infill area, they're eligible for funding for each house that they create, up to 8 houses. And so that money could be used to pay for those taps or something like that.
The answer though would be, there's probably not 3 taps there.
Probably not, because
Not big, like
probably when it was
one.
originally put in, those taps probably weren't originally put underground, and so now you gotta get under there and get
Yeah,
them.
I would imagine that was owned by a neighbor. And
Yeah.
ended up selling it off and just had it as extra.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
just have to tap in because there's no alley access or
Right.
anything like that.
And the difference in the setbacks was probably before the
Yeah.
zoning.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the house next to it had to have been built probably in the 40s.
Oh, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure. And it's right by a school, and I would think that's ideal for some folks, but you just never know.
Well, let me ask you this, in the infrastructure, that infrastructure is just as old as those houses.
There is
So what
that.
if you get into it and the infrastructure, the main is worn out? What do you do? What happens?
Well, that would be a question for our operations team on what they can repair, fix, or do they have to replace it? Is it within the capital improvement program, which is part of our strategic,
Sure.
comprehensive plan of here's where we think we're growing?
If that money's not available, would the developer be able to do it, or?
We would then go, and if there's not ready funds set aside for that, we would look at the infill funding to see if there's an option for the city to at least pay a portion of that in some way to make that main in that area, whatever that extent is, viable for that development to move forward. Whether
So if
that's
there's an
water
issue
or
with the
sewer.
water main and somebody's trying to put a tap in, the city would have to fix the main and then they pay for the tap in?
Usually that's the way it works.
That little piece right in front of that house, not the whole thing in front of the 3 houses that we know are just as bad as the one in front of the new construction?
Usually that's the way it works because it's so expensive to even replace a block of infrastructure underground. It can be very costly without going through the CIP program. And they would have to evaluate their funding, and we may have to do a couple of different funding options to make it happen. But the city is certainly committed to trying to make it work for creating those infill housing that we need.
So if the money's not there, the deal's over.
Well,
I guess that's where I was going.
yeah, I think that's for every, I mean, there's always that potential.
Unless the person of the lot puts in X amount of dollars for 50 feet of frontage.
Correct. Now, we're anticipating that won't happen, and I think they're anticipating that won't happen, but there's always a chance
Yeah.
that when they get in there, But that's why they have licensed installers that do the taps, and hopefully they know how to, I think some of our more challenging lines are the cast iron.
Yeah, I'm licensed, I carry a lot of duct tape.
There you go. Just keep wrapping until it stops leaking.
Extra barbed wire.
Yes, sir. Whatever it takes someday.
Make it work, make it work. Yeah. I'm with you.
Gorilla Glue.
Thank you, Eric. I'm not a licensed contractor, but I do carry duct tape. All right, let's see, where are we?
Next meeting.
Next meeting, item number 6.
Sorry, I'm not.
The next regular meeting of the zoning board of adjustments is scheduled to begin at 1:30 PM on Monday, July 7th, 2025, in the City Hall East Mezzanine Meeting Room. Do we have anything coming up that we know of right now?
The deadline for applications is this Friday. Right now, we have none, I believe, but we have until Friday.
Friday, okay, thank you.
That is the Monday after the 4th of July.
I know.
From this group that's here, does anybody have any known conflicts that would conflict with that day? And we would need to maybe move the date, just because this board, you have to have so many folks sitting here to actually hold the meeting.
I'm good.
And looking, hold on.
Gary celebrates that day every day, right?
Well, I was sitting there thinking, well, I might be in jail in Cunha, but,
We primed the pump while ago.
So in that case, yes, I will show up so we can make sure we have a quorum.
Thank you, guys. But if you do run into something between now and then, just let Austin or myself or even Ray know, and we'll be happy to see if we can work something out with getting the team together.
sounds good, thank you. All right, yeah. Item number 7, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second? We have a
I'll
second?
make a second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Good meeting.
That
was a 20-minute meeting.
Y'all have a good 4.
I know, I was like, don't jinx us. Don't jinx us.